Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerers Guild. Today on Unorthodox Weirdery, we are finally going to be talking about the weird, the weirding web, or simply weird. Okay, this video is also going to be on the Magical Theory playlist and the Sorcery Self-Defense playlist because we are going to be speaking about concepts relevant to those playlists as well. I also have a bit of a script here that I have written. So if you see me glancing down, that's what I'm looking at. I will try to include it in the description portion of this post if it fits. If it does not, I will leave a link to the Google Docs copy of the script in the description portion of the post. Okay, so what is the weird? The weird or weird is both a verb and a noun. The word has roots in both Old English and Scandinavian lore, and it means to come to pass or become, but it also means to spin or to twist, as in a wheel or threads. People often associate weird with fate, but the weird is not to be found in the fabric of the tapestry of fate, nor in the threads. The weird is in the twisting itself. And yet the weird is not simply free will either. It is that moment outside of time from which the flow of time is made up. It is what actually becomes within a procession of moments where free will and fate meet to join the threads of potential into the weaving of the fabric of reality. Those of you familiar with the weird know that it is 3 sets of 3 lines. It goes like this, and then one down the middle. Whichever way you want to draw it. Typically, I suppose you draw the ones in the middle and then across like this, almost like a hashtag. Within the lines of the weave, one can find all the runes of the elder Futhark. And one could even argue that what the weirding web is a bind rune created from the entire alphabet of the elder Futhark to represent the fabric of reality as a whole. Other traditions also speak of the tree of life being found within the lines of the weirding web. And it is all these things, yeah? It is both the bind rune and the tree, and more. When I picture the weird, the first thing that flashes in my mind is actually a tree, but then I just like the bark of a tree, or the rough-hewn bark, the trunk of a tree with rough-hewn bark, and then a 3-fingered claw stretching down and then sideways. And then off to the side I see this very swift-moving river with rocks, and I have thoughts of how the flow of the river changes with each moment, but how there's rocks in the path that one cannot avoid, and those are our doom, which we will speak of in later episodes, yeah? Those rocks, there are certain rocks in our path, no matter how we flow, we're still going to come across those rocks. But that is our fate or doom, and we will talk about that in a later episode. Also, when I view the weirding web, I see 3 crossroads. Oh, hold on, I think I'm missing something. Okay. Yeah, my understanding of the weird is, I suppose, very modern in comparison to these traditions of the bind rune and the tree of life. But I feel that we cannot have a static concept of a word that is perpetually in motion. Therefore, to understand the concept properly, we must have a current understanding of what is coming to pass now, rather than looking back at what has gone before. So when I view the weirding web, I see it as 3 crossroads set upon 3 paths. What is, what was, and what shall be. Each crossroad represents the moment of change that occurs when fate and free will meet, and the choices we make at these crossroads. That leads us from one path over to the next. So that with each choice, we go from what was to what is on our way to what shall be. And yet the path beneath is still a straight line as we progress forward in the tell of our individual lives. Because no matter what choices we make, there is no escape but to move forward on our path. Okay, so what use is this concept to us as spellcasters? I've spoken in previous videos of the law of aesthetics, which states, living is an art form that takes place between life and death. Now this is more than just a philosophical decree, yeah? The motion of the weird is bound by the laws of momentum and positioning. And because of this, the repetition of events or themes in our lives create a groove in our weird, which manifests in both the patterns of activity and the overall rhythm that our life takes place in. Once you find your groove, once you find those things that repeat the theme in your life, you can work within that pattern and manifest in your life and see in advance what obstacles are likely to arise, but also what potential there can be in situations in your path, rather than just stumbling over these things blindly. It helps us to predict what is coming. Yeah, it's another form of divination by simply allowing ourselves to get into the rhythm and flow of what's going on around us. Allow ourselves to feel the theme, feel the artistry or poem of what is going on around us. That's the weird. Yeah? That's the flow. You get in, just feel how it's taking place. Get into the groove of it, if you will. Okay. This is also true of spell components and symbols as well. Okay, the same principle can be drawn upon to predict the patterns and behavior of others around you, as well as situations you wish to affect or are forced to interact with. Like in emergency situations, what I mean by forced to interact with, like something crazy is happening, you know, if you can pick up on the theme of what is going on, then you can help predict what is going to happen. This is also true of spell components and symbols as well. Find the underlying... Let's back up just a moment. Find the underlying theme of an event, and you can predict its outcome. I did kind of say that, but I feel I wrote it down better than what I just said. So, then, from there, this is also true of spell components and symbols as well. All things have a weird. All persons, places, and things have a weird that surrounds them and their place in the overall pattern of life. So it is within the weird that we find the practical value for the law of aesthetics. But the law of paradox is also present in the weird. For every thought, there is an equal and opposite thought. Not in the extremes of one thought over the other or any other polarity, but within the center of where these concepts meet that things get weird. Yeah, where they begin to twist and spiral. We talked about the law of paradox being the thing that creates motion. So this motion in the center, that's the weird. If we were to look at this on a cosmic level, even, we could say that there is the nothing and the all thing, and all things in between is the motion of the weird, or is within the motion of the weird. Now, we cannot fully enter into the weird consciously, because any moment we perceive is not taking place in the present, but rather within the immediate past. Yeah, by the time we perceive anything around us with our mind, it has already gone through a process of sensory organs to be relayed to the brain, and by the time we perceive it, it is not actually the present. Yeah, it's not in the now. That's not the now. That is the immediate past. We are perceiving what just happened, not what is happening. And there is the difference. So, we must reach beyond perception to approach the weird. The less conscious we are of our action, the closer we come to approaching the weird, and the more control we can exert over how the pattern of a moment forms, and the more we are able to react to that which is. That is why the exercises we have been doing in the sorcery self-defense focus on creating muscle memory and allowing your awareness to reach above your crown chakra and up to the higher self to direct your movements from that perspective. This is done to create an abstract or objective sense of self, which allows you to be less conscious of yourself in that moment while still being able to direct your behavior. This is similar to what an athlete experiences when entering the zone, or when we are suddenly put into a fight or flight situation and you begin that moment where time kind of slows down. That's you getting closer to the edge of the weird. Yeah, that's the state we're trying to create when that, in the videos where I'm talking about pulling up the fire from the belly, and then the lines down from the, and then the lines up, reach up from the crown chakra and reach the lines back down to yourself, and controlling yourself like a marionette. Yeah, that's what we're reaching for here. We're trying to step, that frenzy gnosis is to get us that into that edge of the weird, get us past consciousness and moving while directed from the higher self. Okay. So I guess that's going to be it for this episode of Unorthodox Weirdery. Thank you once again for joining us. And don't forget to join us for future episodes of this playlist, where we will speak about doom and fate, and eventually more on entering into the weird. Okay. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. Until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.